Welcome back to my channel, everyone. Three tips here, and what I have is some jeweler's scrap filings and clippings in this bag. So what we're going to do is we're going to try to refine this, try to get the gold and silver out of here for my jeweler friend. We're going to begin by getting a weight on an empty 2-liter beaker. It's at 503.3. I'm going to write that right on the beaker. 503.3. He has the material in these bags, and he's given me two separate bags. He said this one's going to be mostly silver, and mixed in there with it is boric acid. So it doesn't matter. We're going to add this to the beaker now. And this other one, I'm going to save this. This other one has the filings and clippings, pieces of karat gold, a lot of filings, and mixed in with it is boric acid. He uses boric acid as a flux in his processes. So we're going to add that into the beaker here. This will help us determine a yield. We've got 570.4 minus the beaker 503.3, so we've got 67.1 grams of jeweler's scrap in here. This scrap has boric acid mixed in with it, and so I looked up the solubility of boric acid, and it's soluble in water. So I'm going to try to rinse the inside of the bag out with some water here, just to get all the dust off of the bag, include it, and it'll try to help the yield. There won't be much on here, but every little bit counts. And we'll do the same thing with this smaller bag. I'm adding water to this to try to dissolve off the boric acid before we get started. This is something new I'm trying. Boric acid is a flux that the jeweler uses when he does his repairs on his jewelry, and it gets mixed in with the filings, and boric acid tends to melt when we do the incineration, and it will encapsulate some of the gold filings. So we want to try to get it off of here before we start this process. Got a stir bar. I'm going to add it to that. I'm going to set it up on the heat over here. And now we'll turn stirring on and add some heat. I looked up the solubility of boric acid, and in boiling water it's about 27 grams per liter, and there shouldn't be anywhere near 27 grams in that scrap. So I got about 300 milliliters of distilled water, and we'll just allow this to boil, and then we'll try to draw the water off to remove the boric acid before we incinerate this material. If you look in there, you can see quite a bit of the boric acid kind of swirling around in the solution. The gold is settled down to the bottom. It won't get caught up in the water very much, but the boric acid, you can see it swirling around in there, and we'll try to boil this solution and get as much of that out as we can. Here you can see the gold building up down on the bottom down here, the gold filings. So now what we'll do, we've had this on boiling for about a half an hour. Take it down, let it settle out a little bit, see if we can decant the liquid. The solution is still hot, and what we're going to try to do is pour it through some coffee filters up here. here. I'm just trying to preserve any solids that might get poured off here. We'll do another quick boil on this just to make sure that we've got all of the boric acid out of our solids. Let's take and pour off our second water boil. It's not really a boil, I'm just heating the water up, trying to get the boric acid out of here. I'm going to add it to this filter. Just going to pour it right in hot. And we'll add a little bit more water to this. I think we'll do one more, just for good measure. This has been on boiling now for quite some time, probably an hour. Now what we'll do is we're going to pour this off into our filter here. Get the stir bar out of here. It's got some magnetic material on it. I've got some boiling distilled water here. We'll rinse our beaker out and get all our solids up here into this filter. Here we go, we've got most of the liquid pulled off of here. I've got some hot water. I'm going to add it to this. Try to rinse some more of the junk off of here. Take me a piece of filter paper. I'm going to get down in here. Let's pour this water off up into here. Now we're going to take this filter paper and try to wipe the junk that's stuck to the inside of the beaker off. Looks like it might be a little bit of gold dust. See that? Just try to get it on this filter paper best we can. And then we'll add that into our melt dish that we're going to do our incineration in. All the liquid pulled off of there. Here's our material. It's looking pretty good in there. Nice and clean now. See them pieces of karat gold? It's looking good. What we're going to do now, we're going to take it. We're going to put it in this dish. Whole filter, everything. There we go. Now what we'll do is take this out and put it in our furnace. I just turned the furnace on, so we'll stick our material in here and let this incinerate. It's been in the oven now for about 45 minutes. We should have it nice and toasty now. Let's turn the oven off and take this in and let it cool off, and we're going to work with it. got our incinerated material cooled off completely. You can see there's some scraps in here. What we're going to do is add this to our strainer here. Oh yeah, it's a nice dry powder now. That's exactly what we want to see. That was easy. Here's our leftover scraps. Let's put these scraps back in this dish here. Make sure we got everything out of there. There we go, we got it all. Now I've got me a solo cup with a magnet. Let's see if we got any magnetic material down here now. One little piece. So I think everything else is good here. One little piece of magnetic stuff right there. Here's our finely divided powdered material down in the bottom of this beaker. What we'll do is add a stir bar. Put a cover on this. Well, let's add some water. It's about 150 milliliters of distilled water. Put it up here on the heat and start stirring this. Start heating it up. I'm adding some nitric acid, and we're going to try to pull anything that's soluble in nitric out of here. It was about 50 or 75 milliliters of nitric acid. While we're waiting for this reaction, let's come down over here. I think what we're going to do is quart the pieces of carrot gold that we have in here. Add this material to our melt dish. We've got 41.4 grams of carrot scrap. Alright, we've got 41.4 grams of carrot gold. I'm going to call it 12K because I'm just going to melt that all together. So we need to multiply this by 0.5 because 12K is 1/2 of 24. That's our estimated yield from this amount of material in this melt dish. Okay, we need an alloy that's 1 part gold and 3 parts silver and base metals. So we need to add 62.1 grams. Then we need to take out 20.7 because there's already 20.7 grams of silver base metals in this carrot scrap. Minus 20.7 equals, look at that, we need 41.4 grams. That's exactly what we started out with. And what I'm going to do is add this silver. It's 41.7 grams. We're going to add this silver to this gold, and we're going to quart this carrot gold now. Here we go. All right, my sound went on the fritz here, but you'll see right here this first initial drop, boom, right there. It exploded when it hit the water, which is a good thing. It forms these very fine granules of inquarted gold that present a large surface area to the nitric acid in the next step when we go to part the silver and base metals out with nitric acid boils. Rinse all the tap water off of here. All right, here's a look at our gold down in there. Here's our inquarted gold. Look how fine that sand is in there. This time when it popped off, I was ready for it. It didn't scare me like it normally does because I tried to make it happen. I got it real hot. Got our material back here in hot dilute nitric. So what I think I'm going to do, I'm going to pour this off into here, and we'll start this inquarted gold off with the hot nitric from this boil. See what happens here. See if we get a reaction. Oh yeah, look at that. Oh yeah, that's hitting that inquarted gold pretty hard. That's not a bad thing. That's a good thing. I don't even have any heat on here yet. When we have that very, very fine particles of inquarted gold, the reaction happens very quickly there. Lots of surface area exposed to the acids. So now what we'll do, let's back up a little bit here. Here's our other material. It's going to be gold powder filings from the jeweler's workbench. Here we go. We're going to add some distilled water. Pour in some more nitric acid, about an equal amount. Give this another boil in nitric, dilute nitric acid. Set this up on the heat and continue trying to pull any nitric soluble material out of these filings. Here we go. Those solids down there are looking very clean. There's some gray material in there with the gold, and that's the abrasive material that the jeweler uses to grind the jewelry down when he does his repairs. Here's our inquarted gold. It's looking very good as well. Got like an assembly line going here. I'm going to pour off this material out of our inquarted gold. I'm loving my new little electric burner that I bought online down here. I bought 2 of those. I'm going to pour off this silver bearing solution now. It's going to be full of silver. It's going to have nitric acid in it. You can see that we're pulling. Ooh, what are we pulling out of there, man? That looks very strange. I'm going to pour some of this nitric acid into our encorded gold now. It's going to react fairly vigorously, should anyway. Put this back up on the heat now. Wow, that stuff's looking like it's starting to clump together for some reason. Won't look too bad. Need a little bit more acid, so we're going to add some nitric acid. Here we go. Let's see if we can pull this all off in one take. I'm going to pour off the acid solution, the silver solution, out of here to our silver jar for the refiner. Gonna rinse it out. Recorded gold is looking outstanding. It's looking really good. Hold together nicely for us. Add a little water. Set it on the heat. Now what we'll do is pour some of the acid off of this filings to the encorded gold. Still pulling something because that liquid is turning blue. Alright. Oh, look at that. What in the world is going on in there? It's almost acting like it's encorded gold in there. Wow. This is going unexpectedly well. That thing does that. I just turn it off, let it get centered, and then turn it back on. That stuff back there, I don't know what's going on in there. I think what I'm going to do is pour this off completely into this jar and rinse all of the liquid out of that. Turn the stir bar off. I'm going to rinse all this blue liquid out of here and see what we got going on in here. I don't know what that is, man. It's bizarre. Strange looking. Looks like encorded gold. I don't know what to make of that. Just if I can pull it up here and look at it. Looks just like gold that's been encorded with silver, parted with nitric. Very strange. Do with this is add some water. Wow. And now we'll add some more nitric in there. And blue color's throwing me off because blue means copper. I'm just gonna let that boil without the stir and see what kind of result we get by doing that. This is all looking very good. Back here we've got our nitric boil on the filings, and it's starting to clear up. It's got a little tint of green, which might be palladium or copper. Over here we've got our encorded gold. Notice how that thing's a rolling boil. This new little burner that I have here is working really good. They work good at first, and then they slowly start declining. I'm going to pour off this nitric boil now from our encorded gold. Oh yeah, look at that encorded gold. It's looking fantastical. Look at that. It's perfect. There's some rinse. I see a little bit of suspension coming off of there. It's probably gold. Put it back up on the heat. Now we'll take our material back here that we're boiling in nitric. It's still going to have some good active nitric in it. I'm going to add that to the encorded gold. And now, let me see here. Let's put some more water back in here. Wow, man, that stuff is looking superb. I don't know if you can see that. It looks like, I think what's happened here is the nitric acid, since it was really finely divided material, the nitric acid has got down in there and removed the silver and the base metals out of there. It looks really good. So what we'll do is we'll pour this off now. I got some room here to do this. Pour this off into here. And I think what we'll do, let me see, what are we going to do with this? I think this is ready to go with Aqua Regia. So I'm just going to set this in back, out of the way, and get ready to do to dissolve that in Aqua Regia. I think this reaction is done. I don't see any more fumes, and that solution is staying pretty much the same color. I'm adding some distilled water to my material back here in this beaker. And now what we'll do is set this back up on the heat. And I'm going to give this a boil in some water. Oh yeah, this material looks good. Let's add some heat. Give it a gentle boil and some water. That gray material right there is the abrasive that comes off the sanding discs that the jeweler uses. And what we'll do then up here, let's get this poured off into our silver collection jar here. And we'll do the same thing with our encorded gold. I think our encorded gold is looking rather spectacular here. Oh yeah, that solution's nearly colorless. And here's our gold down in there. Looks really good. Let me give this a rinse with some water. Set this up on our burner here and give it a boil in some distilled water. The gold is boiling in water back there. I've set it back in the back. Now what we're going to do is we're going to filter any solids out of here. This is our silver solution that we just poured off, and there is some solids in the bottom of it. The liquid is kind of warm. pouring it through some coffee filters here. This is a test of the coffee filters to see if these things are going to be usable in my processes. Notice that they ride up the side, the inside of the funnel there, so we can capture nearly 100% of any solid material that we pour in here. There you can see we got some gold up in there. Looks like gold anyway. This scrap came from a jewelry manufacturer. This guy does casting and manufactures jewelry. He's more of a manufacturer than a repair person. And this scrap of his was much cleaner than the other jewelry repair person that I worked for. Let me reach back here and get the encorded gold that we've been boiling in water. It looks really good. What I'm going to do here is just I'm going to add this into our funnel up here and use this liquid to rinse out the material that's already in this filter. Quarted gold. Ouch, it's a little bit warm still. Just set it back here out of the way for right now. Now what I'll do is bring this up. And we'll start emptying this as well into our funnel. Alright, the gold in this beaker right here looks really good. Look at that up in there. Looks like we've already refined it once and precipitated it out with SMB. You'll see some gray material in there. That's the abrasive material that comes on the jeweler's sanding discs, and that material gets mixed in with his scrap. I think we're ready to start refining now. Let's bring up our encorded material here. Looks very good. And what we'll do is just add this now right in with this other material in this bigger beaker. Let's pour off this water that we have in here into our filter. A little bit of gold going over with it. And now what we'll do is we're going to add some hydrochloric acid to this. About 100 milliliters, maybe 150. It's hydrochloric acid, which is the same thing as muriatic acid. I'm going to add a little bit of sulfuric acid. Take care of any lead that may be present. Here's what's in our filter. It does look like gold. And the filtrate is running clear. All of our silver will be down here in this blue liquid now. I've got all the liquid pulled through here now. little bit of gold on that filter. So we're going to take this filter now, add it to the beaker that has the rest of our gold in it. Set this up on the heater, start heating this up. All our silver will be in this solution. It will contain some of the jeweler's silver and the silver that I added. I'm not going to try to, it's commingled in here, so what I'll do is I had this small silver bar laying around and from a previous video where I melted some silver bars. And what we'll do is just give him this as compensation for his silver, even though this is going to probably be a lot more than what he gave me. That's okay, he's a friend of mine. We'll give him this silver bar and he can use it for his projects. I think we'll add about 20 milliliters of nitric acid. Just go ahead and pour this right on in, and this will form aqua regia in here with the hydrochloric acid, and we'll start dissolving the gold. I think the reaction has stopped in there, and to make sure we got everything, that's about 70 milliliters of hydrochloric acid. I'm going to add a couple squirts of nitric acid. This will be 6 milliliters of nitric acid. Now what we're going to do, just to make sure we've got everything dissolved in here, because the reaction is stopped, there's no more fumes being produced. I'm going to add this right on in. And any more gold particles that are in there should begin to dissolve. We should see some fume formation in there if we do have gold reacting. If not, then that's okay. We'll just boil it down until we get rid of that excess nitric acid. Let's take this down off the heat now and let this cool off. It's going to be hard to tell if we've got everything dissolved here. I think we do. That's just trash. See lots of silver chloride precipitating out as we add the ice. Adding a filter to my funnel. Let's get set up to filter our gold solution. Here we go. Let's filter our solution. It's got a lot of junk in it. Got everything pulled through that filter. This is the silver bar that we're going to give to the jeweler. I've got it in some dilute sulfuric acid to get all the flux that's on there off of it. If you look down in here, this is what we got left. The beaker. It's not gold. It's just junk. I don't know what it is. And then the gray material is the abrasive. So what we're going to do is just going to go ahead and add all this now into this filter. I've got all the liquid pulled through our funnel here. Now let's get it out of the way. That's what's in our funnel. It's just abrasive grit and what looks like some kind of casting sand. He does casting, so that's probably what it is. I looked at it under the magnifier. It looks like sand off the beach. So now what we'll do is we're going to transfer our gold bearing solution. This should be all of the gold right here. We're going to transfer this into this beaker. Let this cool down. This is the jeweler's silver bar. Pickling it in some 5% sulfuric acid to get all the flux off of it. Here we go. We're going to add a spoon of the SMB. Just going to put it right on in. There might be a little bit of excess nitric in here. See how this works. Oh, look at that. That looks good. I'm going to add the rest of the SMB in now. I just realized I forgot to do the Stannis test. There you go, that black stain on that piece of filter paper. That's gold in solution. Let's get the rest of this gold to precipitate now. I'm going to add another spoon of SMB. Spoon number 3. And spoon number 4. That should just about do it here. Here's our gold for the jeweler. It's a decent amount in there. Let's set this back out of the way for just a second. Now we're going to pour off this waste solution. It's got a little color going on in there. Let's get a little on a piece of filter paper here. Give it a Stannis test. You can see might be a little bit of a hint of some platinum group metals, but no gold. So now what I'll do is I'll pour off the waste solution. This is the last of the hydrochloric acid rinses. What I'll do is pour it off into our waste container. And now what we're going to do, I was going to go ahead and melt it right here, but I can't resist. I'm going to add a little bit of hydrochloric acid. A few drops of sulfuric acid. Now let's set the gold up on the heater here. I'm going to dissolve it a second time. Let's measure out some nitric acid here. Let's say about 15 milliliters of nitric acid. And what we'll do is pour that right on in. Just a couple of little bitty pieces left in there that didn't dissolve. So what we'll do, I'll add a few more drops of nitric acid, just a smidge, just enough to get the rest of that to dissolve. Got everything to dissolve. Let's pull this down off the heat now and let it cool down. We've added some ice. Now let's go ahead and filter our solution. It's clear, it's just got some frost on the outside from being chilled with the ice. I've got everything pulled through the funnel. Let's transfer the solution to our beaker over here. One, two, it usually takes 3 rinses to get all that out of there. Alrighty, we're not going to bother testing with stannous. I know there's gold in here. I'm going to add some sodium metabisulfite and get the gold to precipitate out a second time. That should do it. Let this settle. Here we go. We've got the gold settled out. Let's pour this off. All right, let's get our gold in this melt dish. Pour off this excess water. Perfect. Let's get the gold over here on the melt table. We're going to melt this up a nice gold ingot now. Here's our pure gold ingot that we just melted. Man, that thing is nice. Look at that thing. Brilliant, brilliant shine on there. And now let's see what we got for weight on this. 28.5, 28.4. All right, we were looking for, let's see. We started out with 28.4 divided by 67.1. So we've got a 42% yield from that scrap. I'm sure the jeweler will be very pleased with this ingot. We're also going to throw in this bar for him. This is just some silver that I had from a video I did where I melted up some pure silver bars and poured them, and we'll offer this to him for his silver. So he's going to get two nice little chunks of precious metals from his scrap. This refining went surprisingly well. This will conclude the video. I'd like to thank everybody for watching.